What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for stopping by and checking me out. I have some ideas that I want to share with you guys. Man, there's so much happening right now in the world, and I just believe that God is pushing me to get this message out. I've really balked on sharing information on YouTube here. Probably should have started a channel a long time ago, and I didn't. But I've really been feeling the urge to share some things. So I want to talk about what's happening in the sky. I think everyone's noticing the things that are in the sky, signs in the sky, as is quoted in the Bible. Boy, are there signs in the sky. Now, how many of you out there care about this? I know that people that click on this are relevant to the topic, right? But I mean, really, like, how many of you out there are just like stumbling upon this or come across this information, but like it doesn't affect you at all? You don't care about this stuff. Do you guys pay attention? And for those who pay attention and care, are you guys all paying attention to like what we're seeing in the sky? Has anyone seen anything out of the normal, out of the ordinary the last, year, 2 years, year and a half, 2 years plus? Question mark. Let's start with the sun. The sun used to be yellow when I was a kid. We all know that, right? Pretty white. It's white now, right? I can tell you from someone that works with my hands and is outside a lot, I ride bike. I had a lot of sun on me these last few summers. I mean, my whole life, but definitely recently. I'm 42, and as a middle-aged adult, I continue to get out in the sun like I was a teenager, like I was a kid. Let me tell you, the sun's different. It's different. Last 2 years for sure, it's been different. There's a bite, there's an edge to it. You can't stay out in the sun. Boy, it takes it out of you. I remember this past year, it really drained my energy. So anyway, I was talking about out here being under the sun. Yeah, I put a lot of work in the last year. It was cold. Hopefully we can hear this with the wind. But spent a lot of time out under the sun doing various projects. And the one I've been working on recently here is this, what you saw behind me. Right? Been working with stone. There's a few reasons I've been working with stone. When to find some things out, and kind of a next progression in materials for me as a craftsman and artist. Works with my hands and amongst other things, but I'd like to end up working with all the materials available out there. So yeah, I've been playing with stone spent a lot of time under the sun, and forgive me, pardon this break, but I am committing to starting this channel, and so any of you guys hanging around checking this out, get to know me a little bit, and you'll see what we got coming up, what type of stuff I'm into, who you're dealing with here. This here is some rock work that I got into last year, like I said, so I wanted to use the elevated areas. I had hillsides on both my house, and I wanted to use them to grow in, and also, here we are on the topic of the sun. When I saw the thing I'm talking about in this video, I was growing and running my garden and living in the city and growing on a rooftop. And I knew from the last 2 years there that the sun had become vicious. And I was struggling. I always do better than everybody else with my garden typically, but a lot of people are having stuff die in the sun, and the sun was becoming harsh. So I decided to plant in a partial sun zone on my house. This hillside isn't full sun, and it's not full sun I think till you're like down to here. So this whole area that I have planned for the garden out there, we'll see. It may not end up, it may end up it may end up being touchy out there on account of having no shade. I think if the sun continues to do what it has been doing, it just burns the shit out of everything. I've seen odd behaviors in the rising position, I believe, of the sun and the moon. I feel as though the moon doesn't seem to quite be operating like it normally should. This is stuff that I never hard looked at to the point where I can say the stuff about the moon. For me to make these statements, I would have to track it and really know for sure. But it seemed to me like we were having some shorter lunar periods than we should have. Egg shape hooked to the crescent that I felt like was never there before. At times I've seen the moon on its side or where it shouldn't be in the sky. A lot of things with the moon. Recently, I've noticed the night sky seems to be behaving different. I don't know how many of you watch the night sky. I believe that I'm in Pennsylvania. Right now, I come out my back door and I see Orion right in the sky. Orion seems to be tracking across the sky in a different way. I know that the Pleiades, which Orion's shooting at or whatever, I think, but they've shifted into this central location. I kind of do feel like the way Orion runs now, it kind of has a bending arc to it and it wraps around the sky. It didn't really seem to do that. I remember it traversing more steady straight across the sky. So that's definitely happens. The Dipper, same with that. And they come up, I think we're on a wobble too, right? So with this sky moving the way it is, I believe we're on an in and out wobble. I'll see the Dipper come up in different places. They alternate. It goes between these two spots. And then at times what I see is I see sky nights where the Dipper is not the strong big Dipper. All the star points are not there where they as bright as they should be. And it looks as if you might take our view on these stars and kind of twist it a little bit, right? Because we don't, this is all from our perspective. So if you shift it a little bit, some of those might, bend. It just doesn't quite look the same. Yeah, but I'll stand out here and here's where I noticed things I was talking about. We got the sky twisting. We got Orion's typically coming up this time of year right here. You got the Big Dipper coming up back over here. So I have it juxtaposed against the skyline and I see it coming up square like normal, and then I see it coming up cocked and twisted, right? You're looking at it and you can tell you're not looking at it square. It seems like it's twisted a bit, and then the rest of the sky looks that it reflects that. I can't remember what the W is in the sky. I think it's Cassiopeia, I believe, and but that shows the little twist to it too. There's my neighbor walking. What's up there, Jimmy? You got his headphones on. You don't hear me. Kids are too cool anyway. And so yeah, it comes up here, and what I see the Dipper come up here, come up down here, back and forth, and so here's where I notice the sky wobble, and that's one of the things. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna show the video of what I recorded in this final cut. I don't know if it'll just be this out here. I sounded quite certain about some of those things, and they're really just anecdotal vibes that, my accounts, and it's kind of my hypothesis. And I'm really interested to see if anyone else has noticed some of those things. But yeah, that's what we got going on. And there, it's just like the one corner seems faint and cocked in a little, and it's a little off. And then it goes back to being normal. Strong, big normal lines like I'm used to seeing my whole life. I've been looking up the sky since I was a kid. At 15, 16. It was the first thing I really did when I got a car, was go out into fields, farm fields, and look up at the sky with binoculars. And I went to work for JPL and all that stuff, blah, 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 whatever. But I never stopped looking at the sky. And as a matter of fact, what got me watching all these signs in the sky right now, earlier than I probably would have, was because I was looking at the sky a few years ago, and my son and I saw something extraordinary, and it definitely changed my life. It was something like I've never seen before. Um, it's an image of a planetary body or something up in the sky that I believe was a very small earlier version of what has been seen now, which is a planetary body that has these spots kind of all over it. And this body's been caught in some of these FAA cams as it traverses the sky. You can see it has a spin to it because these spots will rotate. The thing looks menacing. It just doesn't. I've heard many people describe this particular object. There's another object that has a Death Star shape to it with a crater like the Death Star, and people have described that as foreboding and menacing. But this one with the the spots all over it, yeah, it people have said that same thing, and it gave me a bad feeling. So what happened was, I was out back, my rooftop deck, living in the city here in Pennsylvania, where I'm at, small city, and my son and I had him over for the weekend. I believe it was April of 2019 or April of 2020. I have to think. It was one of those two. I probably should have thought about this. This is just me talking right now. So anyway, it was one of these deals where, in the last like so many years, they keep telling us, oh yeah, there's a new comet. They keep saying, oh, we discovered this. Here's this, a new thing, new comet. So, well, it was a new comet, right? One of these comets. I can't remember what the name was, but it was like, they were like, oh yeah, this showed up in our night sky. We just figured this thing out. It's going to be here for a little bit. And it came and went for a little while, right? This thing. So it was the way it showed up to me. Now, I'm not for sure if what I saw that night was this comet thing that they were talking about, because it was up in the sky at the same time. I only found out that it could have been this comet. I had heard that the comet was in the sky. I'd seen the reports, but that didn't drive me to look. What happened was, I went out and I saw an object in the sky that was too bright for where it was. And it didn't look like a star, and it didn't look like any other planets. It looked like a bright version of Venus. It had a yellow tinge to it, white yellow tinge. And then I noticed that it was low on the horizon. This was like sundown during, spring, I believe, right? So it was probably like 7 to 8 at night, getting dark, looking north in Pennsylvania, and it was low on the horizon. I remember I noticed it and went back in. I'm like, what is that? And I remember looking it up, and it confirmed that it could be this comet, but it's basically something that shouldn't be there. Well, I went out and looked at this thing with binoculars, but they were just like a freaking $50 set of binoculars, nothing special. They were able, however, to take this little Venus-looking object, and it blew it up through the binoculars to a little ball. And I watched this thing. It was only in the sky from when I saw it to when it went out of view, 20 minutes. My son Anthony comes out and looks at it with me after, because I knew it was something special, man. I knew it was something special. He looks at it with me after I'm looking at it. We're passing binoculars back and forth, and we realize that we can see this thing rotating, because we noticed that there were these spots on it. And these spots look really, really strange, like nothing I've ever seen or depicted other than that Wolf Creek planetary object. I believe that is what I saw. That's just here. It's here. It's closer. These spots, and it rotated, and they kind of, oh man, they seem to have a life of their own. It was very odd on this thing, but they moved. It seemed like they grew and they spun around with the object. But boom, I want to see what this thing is in our sky. Well, I stumble upon Planet X research. So that led me to one Mr. Dave Dobbs. Thank God. I forget how in the heck I was led to Dave Dobbs. Please check out his YouTube channel. He wrote a book that now years later has become relevant. A man of my own heart. I'm an artist that seems to be 10 to 15 years ahead of his time. consistently. But please check out his book, but more equally as important, check out his solar system model that he has created. He got into it, hooked up with other people that were taking pictures of these things, documenting these things in the sky. At that point, they were coming in to our planet from the south. People were seeing them from the southern hemisphere, Antarctica, shots from South America of these two suns. Shot instead of now, where the shots of the two suns. I just saw a shot of Mr. MBB of two suns from, gosh, that might have been in Florida, So either way, we are now seeing all these events over the middle and of our planet, and now exiting up into the northeast, and actually right over the Atlantic Ridge and over Iceland. And I believe pretty much before that, the path is right over the second part of this X on the eclipse, right? So I was trying to figure out what this thing was that I saw. Dave Dobbs has accounted for the broken science that is our current astronomical and orbiting model. So he has reworked the orbital mechanics of our solar system according to if the sun was actually moving like we know it is. The planetary system, solar system that we all were taught in school, the picture with the sun and the circles around it, is a completely made up thing. That's not real, right? That only exists in our minds. If that were to work and exist the way it's shown to us, our sun would have to be sitting still. Once you start to move the sun with constant fast speed, everything falls apart and that model doesn't work at all. So Dave has worked it out that, boy, we're moving through space. We're orbiting our sun as it moves. No doubt our sun is orbiting in the Milky Way galaxy like we know, and everything is moving all together. Well, he's worked out a model that accounts for all this. He has aligned this model with factual information, accounts from here on the ground, pictures, historical accounts. He lines it up with everything that's happened with Galileo and Copernicus and it's solid. Isaac Newton stuff. It's solid. Okay. He accounts for this, what our scientist knows in our solar system, this mass signature, gravity signature. Because of all the evidence and everything is pointed in the way of looking at the possibility that there was likely more planets in our solar system. Well, it turns out that Dave has supposed, like many others, and it seems to be turned out to be true, that we may have a two-star system. That's not just two stars, but is two solar systems. Back to how our model is broken, right? The one that we're all taught for a second. Just as we have two solar systems in reality, and we're not in a perfect concentric circles, and we're actually moving through space and corkscrewing around each other and yada, yada, yada. There's whipping going on and periheliums and, right? Just as that is the case, the actual case is that our solar system is more complex than just one solar system too. Because really what we have is we have a Jovian system and we have a Saturn system. These are essentially, right, like a star system with orbiting bodies. Not one of us knows the mechanics of what turns brown dwarfs to hot stars and back again. They can pretend to, but they have no idea. They think gravity is a thing. Guess what? Gravity is electromagnetism, and they're wrong. And we're about to see it right here with what's happening now, right? And I'll get into that in a little bit. But we have these systems. It's so cool. So it's like not only, I think according to Days, it's like our inner planets are like the sun system. And then we have Jupiter and the other outer planets that are their own systems, but are still tight in our systems. And they come in and interact with us in ways that the normal model doesn't show and explain to you. It's totally different when you see how he has laid his model out.
So that's just with our known solar system. Now it seems like signs in the sky, man. It seems like something else is here, right? We are at this like ultimate like close point, I believe, with this system. We like crossed over to the closest point that we will intersect with it, and now we will be going out from each other. Our orbiting bodies will still have interactions with each other, okay? But we will now be going out, right? So we happen to be living at this time that all the astronomical calendars and all the sky watchers all over, all the stories throughout history, this is the time. Dave, with some of like the most historically significant science on the level of every Newton, Copernicus, this shit that he's doing is on the level of all that. It's contained Galileo, all his work. I mean, the man's there. He's right here on YouTube. I happen to know him from the comment section. That's about it. I love Dave. He seems to be a wonderful man. I hope I meet him in my future. I believe I will. But Dave's model seems to hit, okay? I urge you all to check it out. The signs in the sky. Look at this. I'm 20 minutes in, and I'm getting down to the point, okay? I made this video because I wrote this long comment, and I swiped on my trackpad, and I couldn't get back to the page, and it got deleted. I mean, I probably spent a good 45 minutes. I'm that guy that leaves these long comments all the time, and I mean, I've devoted probably the last 3 years of my life to being an anti-propaganda warrior. So for all these bots and paid shills online, me and a lot of other people like me that are out there worked hard at fighting back. And okay, so these are some things that like we've all noticed, and they've either been just ignored and not given explanations for, or they've been reported to us as something different and lied about, right? Okay, so let's go start addressing these things. We're talking about the colors in the sky. We've all seen the reds and the purples, colors in our sunsets and sunrises that don't seem to be normal, or I don't remember them from my life. Purples and colors in that range that are just so strong and so crazy. I've seen some pretty wild skies in the last few years that I've never seen before. I don't know if any of you have noticed the fact that a lot of times there may be 2 points of light in the sky. My father is a photographer, and I've worked plenty in that area as well, and I understand the source of light sourcing, and yeah, we have our main sun, but then there's plenty of times where you'd have the normal skyline lit up on its way towards sunset, wherever it's at, and then you have this little patch over here of color and brightness that offsets that and is different, right? Other things you might have are strips of color in the sky, angles of clouds that seem to get hit with a color or are brighter for some reason, even though they shouldn't be from where the sun's positioned, and the stuff around it isn't the same color. Okay. What else do we see in the sky? We see rainbow clouds, right? They seem to be localized in the sky a lot too. They might be on the horizon in one area, right? Not on the whole sunset. They might. I see them in strips often, chunks of the sky. Let's see what else. What about the? I'll put a picture of this. I've seen a lot of these big round cloud formations, like boom. It's like if you took soft serve ice cream and boom, boom, and there's like, there's shots of them from all over the globe. There was a bunch that would come in over Turkey there for a while. These cloud formations seem to coincide with heavy earthquakes around the globe. They're seen right around the site of heavy earthquakes. What about the stratospheric clouds? This is what I was commenting on this post, and that got deleted, right? That's why I'm making this video. I was talking about one of these sploogey clouds and how these are a new phenomenon according to scientists. They just found them this past year for the first time ever, 2023. And we started having these late in 2023. We started having stratospheric clouds. Okay, so clouds up in the stratosphere in shapes and colors we've never seen or had before, and at a height that's not normal. No other clouds in the history of mankind exist at that level. Okay, so that's really weird, right? Because when you look at a lot of those cloud formations, the colors and different things, it looks like it's right there with our clouds, like normal clouds, right? We've had a lot of hazy days in the last year and a half. They can strip the sky with these artificial clouds. I'm sure we've all seen them. Okay? So if the things that they're able to cover up with those, or if they're able to cover things up with those, that means that the things that they're able to cover up are not in our atmosphere and on the same plane as those clouds. So when we see these formations in the sky, especially the big, right, the stratospheric clouds, I believe that these are not clouds, and we see them from space, maybe drifting into our atmosphere, but these are the orbital tail of a planetary object from this system or one of its moons. And that's what we're seeing. The red in the colors in the sky comes from one of these bodies, which is trailing red oxide, iron oxide dust. In 1902, the world was blanketed with deposits of iron oxide dust. There's records of it. Check it out. Well, it's back again. It's the same thing. So if we cross paths and we go through its orbital path, that thing all that dust particles comes into our atmosphere and paints the whole thing dramatic red, right? We have the sun. So what I think is happening is, and then a lot of these colors, I think these rainbow colors in particular, which happen in streaks in the sky, I think that's one different body, right? So the red is one certain thing. I think the rainbow colors are one body, unique body. And I see those here and there. Some people have been seeing a second moon, by the way, or this little object around the moon. That's a whole other story. We're supposed to see this comet in front of the eclipse, right? A comet with a tail that's basically as long as our inner solar system, I'm pretty sure. Green tail, which I believe is arsenic, they think. So we have entered a new area of space and time that we've never been in before. I think because to go deeper, it's not just this Planet X system, but I believe that the Planet X system and us together, as we're doing this dance, we're both entering through this galactic sheet plane. So we're busy in multiple ways that we've never been before, right? We're all coming up through this galactic sheet debris, and we have the orbital debris coming off these planetary bodies that we're interacting with. So I think that's what we're seeing in these clouds. These are the signs in the sky. These are the colors. These are the stratospheric clouds. They're not clouds. That's an orbital tail of a planetary body that's not supposed to be there. Right? And in the picture that I commented on, the reason the comment was so big, it took so long to write it because I went on and on about what the coolest thing in this photo was. I'll have the photo up. The coolest thing in this photo was the failed attempt of spraying that you can clearly see right in front of this cloud formation. The evidence of a failed attempt to cover this. That's the coolest thing in that photo. They can't hide it anymore, guys. This is yet another supporting piece of evidence that you can add to your list as you stay aware and note what's happening around you, right? And anyone that's writing that list and is paying attention to our world today and what's happening around them notices that things aren't right. We're in a special time. It's just so cool, and it's a shame that we all don't know about this, because how amazing is that our reality is just, it's like we live in a movie, and we truly do. This world and our reality and our space and time is something that none of us, I believe, really have a hand on, and it's crazier than I ever thought. And boy, if this all was a simulation to just like teach us lessons or something, or God knows what this could be. But boy, I wouldn't be surprised at any of it. And it's crazy. And I know I got to stay armed up with God. I got to pray in Jesus' name. But yes, it's time, folks. They can't stop the truth from coming out. They try to cover the skies so they don't know. They want to keep everyone ignorant. They want to keep people ignorant from seeing what will obviously shatter all the rest of everything for them. I mean, if people understand that all this stuff is happening above them and they've been lied about it, I mean, if that doesn't make them take a look at all the other stuff that we know is lies and all this anyway, and turn it on its head finally, I don't know what will. And I'm convinced nothing will, frankly, because I would have thought that I wasn't in some rare percentage of people that was smart enough to not take that damn thing. Turns out there's only like 10% of people that were like that with it, and that's crazy. Anyway, there's signs in the sky, everybody. Jesus loves you. Zach loves you. Pray today. Kiss your family today. Be thankful for what you have today. And try to make this world a better place. This knowledge that we have is so we can be prepared and we can be warned. Them trying to keep this from people is them attempting to continue to keep the wool pulled over everyone's eyes until the last minute. And then when he shows up, people will say, well, I didn't know. And we all know that that isn't going to be an excuse that will fly. You have to pick sides now. There's no sitting on the fence. If you don't understand that you're agreeing to one side or the other, know that you're doing it blindly with your consent, taking part in all of their stuff. Right? If you like digest their TV and media wholeheartedly, watch the Super Bowl, you like, okay guys, right? You do society's thing, you're gonna get what society gets. And I think we all know who's running. Yeah. In Jesus' name, man. It's probably been longer than I wanted to. Anyway, look up. Signs in the sky. The time is coming. And frankly, it seems to be a countdown towards this April 8th date. So maybe I'll see you a lot till then. Check out Dave Dobbs' channel. Great information. That's it for now.